Did you live with your parents past 22?
I'm 20 right now. I'm still living with my parents.
Yeah, see, here's the thing, right? Come here. At this point, there is no longer an age limit to staying with parents. Does that make sense? Right? I know before it was like, oh, once we turn like 20 or so, try to move out of your parents' house. The way that life is going, that is quite literally almost impossible at this point. People who claim they don't live with their parents anymore, come here. They probably have roommates somewhere else, right? And living with your parents or living with roommates, both are pretty uncomfortable. The only difference is, at least if you live with your parents, somebody's going to say that they love you at the end of the night. Well, for most of us. But you know what I'm saying, right? At this point, living by yourself is almost impossible. Anybody who does live by themselves, they either are working so much that they can't even enjoy living by themselves, or somebody is helping them pay those bills, because at this point, it's impossible.
Let's normalize it being okay to live at home with your parents. Like, at this point in, like, 2024, they're making it almost nearly impossible to live comfortably if you want to live nice in, like, certain areas and certain parts of, like, Florida. It's so expensive. Like, it's almost crazy. Literally, like, a 2-bedroom apartment should not be $2,700.
What's good, YouTube? Today we got this video looking at the title, people living at home in their late 20s. Man, this is getting real. Normalizing it. We got to normalize this, you know, because this economy is getting tough. So we're going to go ahead and cover that. Let's hop right into it.
If you live at home with your parents and you feel ashamed, don't. When I graduated college, I'm 24 now. I really wanted to move out. I was like, I want to move to Boston. I want to get my own apartment. The math wasn't mathing on how much I was making on my salary. My first job, it was like $45K after taxes. And I needed to be humbled a little bit. Who's moving out where and when? You're not. So I lived at home with my parents, and most of my friends did too. But then they all started to go back to school or get jobs, and they live in the city now, and either their parents pay their rent or they like just work crazy hours to afford rent. I've learned since posting TikToks stating I'm a 24-year-old living at home with my parents that so many other people also live at home with their parents. Even if you move out of your house and you have to move back in with your parents because it's just a budget thing, it makes sense to you, right? It doesn't have to make sense to anybody else. That is okay. You are not taking a step back. My number one thing is it only ever has to make sense to you, so never be ashamed.
So I'm 27 and I live at home with my parents. And no, it's not because I'm not able to afford to move out or because I'm codependent, but I just don't agree with the culture and pressure to move out once you reach a certain point in your life. Now, don't get me wrong, if you have parents that are kind of a pain to live with, it totally makes sense to move out. But luckily for me, I have the privilege to have pretty chill parents who are very open-minded and quite fun to live with. By no means are my parents perfect, and I've gotten into many heated arguments with them, but at the end of the day, I feel so much happier being able to see them every day and to get through those conflicts with them. And yeah, to be frank, I live rent-free. I do contribute to the household and pay certain bills, but for the most part, I'm able to save that rent money and use it to invest in my own finances. I'm definitely a firm believer that you shouldn't have to do what everyone else is doing just because everyone else is doing it. You know what works best for you, and just disregard what stigma tells you. I know myself, and I know I will be thankful for the time I spent with my parents. And to me, that's the type of luxury that is irreplaceable.
Now, one thing I do like about this younger generation is that they're going to stand on it. They don't care about, for the most part, what they have to do. They're going to save some money. They're going to save some money, and they're going to live at home. They don't care what people are saying online or whatever it is. I live at home because you're probably living at home. And if you're not living at home, you're living with a roommate, which you're pretty much living at home, or you're stressing out trying to afford your bills. So I definitely do like that this generation knows the truth. Like, hey, I'm not going to be doing that. I'm trying to stack my bread up. I'm trying to get right. And then also with I'm super jealous of just the foreigners, how they're raised with a community aspect and not much of this individualism as in America, where everything is just, I gotta do it myself. When you come together as a family and build your resources together, oh man, game-changing stuff. That's why you see when people coming from other countries, they tend to be all living together in a home and saving up their bread until they can buy a house and continue to advance. But today in this society in America, it's all individual. Oh, I got to move out when I'm 18. I got to do this all by myself. I got to prove a point. Man, slow down.
Living with your parents in your 20s is wild and nobody talks about it. First off, you're going to lose the food battle. It's a lose-lose. You go buy groceries for yourself, You get lectured, hey, we have food at home. Why you wasting money like that? Save your money. But then you ask, hey, we doing anything for dinner? And you're a grown-up. Figure it out yourself. It's a lose-lose. The other thing they don't tell you is that parents get really bored and they start doing these little side quests. You know, I just heard a bunch of clanging and stuff downstairs today, and the floor's gone. And I've heard a lot of people complain about the parents who are always like, where you going tonight? Who you seeing? It pales in comparison to the judgment of just staying in for a night. Oh, you're not doing anything tonight? You're staying in? Yeah, I am. What's it to you? Little me time, you know? And it's a weird combination of obvious gratitude, thankful to have a roof over my head for a little while longer, but also, like, chill.
I don't think there's anything wrong with adults living with their parents.
I don't think people understand. Right now, the average amount of money you have to make in order to live by yourself is $60,000 a year, meaning you have to get paid $30 an hour. Come here. And that is just to cover rent. That's not including furniture. That's not including other bills. That's not including car issues, right? If you were to put all that together, you'd have to make about $75,000 a year, meaning you have to get paid over $35 or $40 an hour. So if you know somebody that is making you feel bad because you live at home with their parents, unless they are making $40 an hour at their job, they're definitely lying to you about their living situation. They either live in a closet or they have 4 roommates. There's nothing wrong with staying with your parents right now, because at this moment in time, the new generation, they can't save any money. The only thing going up is the cost of things, not the actual payment towards their lives.
I absolutely love his videos because he be giving it straight raw and just telling you the truth. And it's like, come here, let me talk to you real quick. Little youngin, let me talk to you real quick. And so don't let nobody shame you. Let's go ahead and hop into these comments, man. All right, so it looks like for the top comment here, we have, as someone who is still living with their parents and trying to move out, it's definitely impossible. We have, I'm 30 and I'm still living at home with my mom. Neither of us can afford to live on our own, so it is what it is. I mean, honestly, and that's where the reality is. You could be helping each other out. It's already hard to live out here, so combining incomes and building resources and pulling resources together is going to help extremely for both parties, everyone involved. Now, of course, making these decisions aren't easy, so having to humble yourself and move back in with your parents, it can be tough out here.
Living at home is like literally the most frustrating thing in the world, and like I feel so ungrateful for like the way that I'm feeling, because I know that I'm like lucky that at least I like have a home to go to after I like left my job. Like I'm really lucky, but at the same time like it just contributes to like so much of like a loss in identity and like a loss in independence. Like someone is home all the time and I like don't have any privacy and I like don't have like any like spaces to myself. Coming back to like your childhood bedroom that like is just so not the person you are anymore, and like having all of this like random shit and like it's not your space and it doesn't feel like your space anymore. And like side note, like my mom just decided to start renovating like half our house, so now like we're all on one side of the house and like in like another tiny room that's like not mine, and my stuff is everywhere. Not to mention like I don't see my fucking friends anymore. Like I genuinely can't just go like grab a coffee with someone after work or like meet them for lunch. Like I'm just in a different town, like miles and miles away. And don't even get me started on like the fact that you probably can't even date anyone because your parents are like all up in your business and like you've nowhere to like, no space to bring them into. And I feel so stupid for complaining about all of this, because like people literally like are homeless and dying, and like I'm complaining about being in my parents' house. Champagne problems.
This is the first month I won't be able to afford rent. I'm not a rich person. I don't have a lot of stuff. I have basic household necessities, a couch, a bed, washer, a dryer. That's about it. A car. I don't have a lot of lavish things. I don't go on vacations and I don't spend a lot. Rent's increased from $1,300 to $1,800. The food prices are too high. I've cut back on eating because I literally cannot afford food. I've cut back on my favorite snacks, cat food, treats. I'm exhausted all the time from being overworked and underpaid. You don't catch a break when you grow up poor. I don't need much to be happy. I just want to be able to live comfortable. I just really need to catch a break right now. I'm trying so hard and I feel like I'm not doing enough. I don't have family. I don't have anything to fall back on. I just need one video to blow up and it could be life-changing for me.
Now, this video isn't exactly living back at home, but it just goes to show the actual bills and what it does to total up when you are living by yourself and you're trying to have that independence. I mean, sometimes you're going to have to give up something. You're going to have to sacrifice. And you have to sacrifice if you're looking to go ahead and make that huge jump forward. Like, it's going to take time. And in a matter of in a couple of years, you can be in a totally different situation. So keep your head down and keep grinding. So that's why I thought it was important to add that video in there.
If you are a woman living with your parents, living with your family, okay, you're saving up the coin, whatever, stay-at-home daughter, whatever you're doing, never feel shame about it, okay? Yes, it's a double standard. Men can't do it, but women can. It is what it is. But this is how you can use it for dating and how to get ahead and how to get men to respect you off the bat, knowing that you're with family and knowing that you have people that are with you, care about you, are worried about you, wanting to protect you, etc. The number of times I have pulled out the parent card, I don't care if I'm 28, I don't care. The number of times I've pulled out the parent card, my parents would never accept that with a man who wants to be in my life. I have to be home early because of my parents. Oh, you know how it is in an immigrant household, like, you know how it is, okay? No, I can't sleep over at the hotel with you. My parents would look at you like you had no home training. Yes, I'm grown, but I'm not going to disrespect them or myself. So I'm so thankful that you understand that I can't do certain things. This protects you. It actually creates boundaries. And honestly, this dynamic, if you're in it, or even if you're not in it, start using a family card. Honestly, it creates almost like this olden age type of experience where it's like, okay, if the guy can't meet your family directly, he's going to deal with your family's attitude indirectly. Does that make sense? Right? Or deal with your family's disapproval, which men can't stand because they're always fighting for approval with their ego. They're going to be fighting for their reputation. Okay? There was a time where I put this guy on blast because we were, dating, going on some dates. And he did something to me that was really disrespectful. And I was like, listen, sir, when I went home and I told my parents about what happened, because, they always ask, they were appalled. And they were really questioning my judgment about who I'm even entertaining my time with. And it just made me question if they were right or not. And this guy went into full panic mode. When I tell you his hands were in his face, he was like, no, no, no. I am so sorry. Like, I'm going to fix it. No, I can't believe I did not want, I don't want your parents to think of me like that. I don't want you to think of me like that. Blah, 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 blah. And I just used the parent card. That's it. Honestly, times where you would think, oh, it's a disadvantage. I should at least be living by myself in an apartment, blah, 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 blah. I get it. I understand 100%. Also understand that this, you could just say it's a cultural thing. You could just say my parents are really traditional and my parents, they're kind of old school, how they are. You say that, do whatever, okay? Men are not running away. The ones who are running away simply they don't want to be seen, to me, which is dangerous, right? Danger zone. So I just love throwing the parent card in these men's faces. And I'm like, yeah, my daddy was a this, my mom was a this, this is the kind of environment I grew up in. So, I can't just go out with anybody, and these men respect me all the more. So do not feel ashamed if you are not living by yourself quite yet, or you're still establishing yourself or whatever the heck you're doing, having roommates. Just say you have family. Don't say roommates, say family. Big difference.
There is absolutely nothing wrong with living at home in your 20s. And I mean 20s. Doesn't matter if it's early 20s, mid 20s, even late 20s. I know a lot of people face societal pressure of like, oh, you shouldn't be at home, you need to grow up, you need to move out. And this is coming from someone who lives alone now, but did live with my parents before I moved to the city that I live right now. So I've been on both sides of the spectrum. Like, I've seen both perspectives of living at home and also living on your own, and, the benefits to doing both. Now here's the caveat, okay? If you are going to stay at home and live at home, you need to do so with a purpose. You can't just be staying at home and living with mommy and daddy because they cook your meals and you don't have to spend any money and it's just easy to live there because you're never going to grow up like that. In fact, I've seen this happen to plenty of people who just never grow up. They never mature because their parents are still taking care of them. They don't have any responsibilities and the real world has not given them a real world kick in the ass yet. But if you're staying at home with a purpose, the purpose to save money, to do something. Hey, maybe you stay at home because your goal is to travel as much as you can. It doesn't make sense to stay at a place. Or maybe your goal is to buy a house, like a lot of people's goal is. I think living at home is the cheat code to getting ahead. I think if you were fortunate enough to live at home in your 20s and your parents will still have you at home in your 20s, this is actually a cheat code to getting ahead in 2023. Like with the cost of living being what it is, with rent, groceries, all these things, you're never going to get ahead, renting a condo or renting an apartment in a big city by yourself. If you ever feel bad for staying at home or people make fun of you for staying at home, just remember what your purpose is of doing it. If you have a purpose and a goal for staying at home, living at home, and you're able to execute that, I promise you, when you come out the other end, it might be a little bit of suffrage. It's not always the easiest living with your parents, especially in your 20s. But when you come out the other end and you've achieved this goal that you set yourself to, I promise you will be 2 times, 3 times better off than the people who used to make fun of you for staying at home, because they're going to be stuck in the same situation, especially financially, with how expensive things are. So yeah, if you ever feel bad about living at home or thinking about moving back home, any of those things from someone who lives on their own but has also lived at home in their mid-20s, just do it. Move back home if you have the opportunity and you're hemming and hawing or it's getting too expensive. It might be the best thing you ever do for yourself. So
after college, something that is frowned upon. For context, I'm from the Bay Area and I currently live here where the average price for a 1-bedroom is $3,000. And as someone who's from here, it just doesn't make sense to me to pay $3,000 every month to someone else. I know this is a privilege and not everyone can live in their family home, but calling this me taking advantage of my parents is a little bit of an overstatement. So by letting me stay here, my parents are helping me to help save more money so I can put it towards property, investments, and even if I do move out in the future, I'll be in a much better place. And I'm not taking anything for granted. I am very grateful to be able to be in this situation. I do help out in the house, like buying groceries, chores, cleaning.
I definitely have to react to this video because anybody living in San Francisco and living in New York by yourself, you got to be a millionaire. Like, I don't even know, just for a little shack over there. And she said $3,000 for rent in the Bay. $3,000. You better live at home until you're a millionaire. I don't understand. Like, there's no shame in that. I understand that for sure.
So whenever I tell people that I live at home, they're always like, oh my God, that sucks. But it's really not that bad. And I'm actually going to tell you a couple of perks about living at home at the age of 24. For starters, I don't pay any bills at all. Actually, I'm lying. I pay my phone bill, but it's only like $100. And to be like completely honest, most of the time my mom will be like, oh, your phone bill's due, but like she'll just pay it for me because we're on a family plan. So she just pays it. But yeah, I don't pay any rent. I don't pay electricity. I don't pay a car note. I don't pay insurance. Like, I don't pay any bills. And before y'all come in my comments like, oh my gosh, that's freeloading, pay your mom something, please. I literally don't even have a job right now. So even if I wanted to pay her, I don't have any money to pay her. But it's just not something she requires. Like, she's like, I was paying these bills before you were here. I'm going to pay them after you leave. Like, it's just not necessary. Stack your money, save your money. I moved home to save money. So that's the whole point. Which brings me to my second point. I don't have a job because I quit my job, and I was able to do that because I wasn't happy there. Like, I was coming home every day miserable, and I told my mom, and she was like, quit. So I quit. And in the past, if I was ever working at a job that I was unhappy at, I really had no choice but to just keep being unhappy and miserable until I found something new. And since I don't have any bills, I don't have to stay and put up with a job that's just mistreating me. So that's probably one of the biggest perks, is being able to quit a job that has me fucked up because, yeah, no. My most fave perk is probably the fact that I don't ever cook or have to cook. Like, me and my mom, we don't cook. That's just not a thing we do. We eat out literally almost every day. And if you think I'm being dramatic, I will literally go put her on camera so she can tell y'all, like, we do not cook. The kitchen is literally just for, like, show. It's just there for decoration. Either she's picking up lunch or dinner, or I'm picking up lunch or dinner. Like, that's just our thing. We love to eat out. That's probably why my bag is so big, but we're not talking about that right now. Another huge perk is that I'm able to actually enjoy my weekends. I can't tell you the last time I ever had a Saturday off or a Sunday.
Let's talk about living at home in your late 20s. First of all, the economy sucks and we are in a cost of living crisis, so all judgment needs to exit stage left immediately. But I'm 29 and I live at home with my parents. I've had my own place. I live with friends. I've lived with my partner. but I'm at home because it truly is the best decision for me at this stage in my life. And while I would love my own place, and I'm planning on doing that very soon, the reality is that living at home is smart, y'all. Living at home is comforting. Living at home for me right now is a blessing. And I'll continue to do that as long as it serves me. And when you really think about it, we are still toddler adults. Like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing out here. And times are different. The market is different. Groceries are different. But somehow salaries are still the same they were 20 years ago. Make it make sense. So I'm taking things one day at a time. And when those things change, so will my address. But for now, here we are.
Why is it like not normalized that we live with our parents in our 20s? I'm pretty sure I'd tell my parents like I'm riding and dying with them. Like they will leave before I will leave the house. Like, how do you want me to get a house? I'm just a girl. Like, why is it so frowned upon? It's so much more fun. Like, I get to hang out with my parents, I get to hang out with my brothers, so much more fun living at home. Like, I get the whole wanting to be by yourself kind of thing, but that's expensive. Like, you gotta be rich for that.
Honestly, it is truly humbling to have to go move back home with your parents, but if this is the move that's going to be best for you and your financial future, and it's going to be best in what you have to do as your only option, don't let anyone shame you for that, because it's tough out here, man. It is absolutely tough, as we just witnessed and went over with these grocery prices and with this credit card debt and where the economy is right now. Don't allow anyone to shame you. Now, there's a difference if you are, you can go extreme with it. I don't even need to give the examples. We know those people who may be freeloading and it's crazy. But if you're having to do this because this is where you are in your life and you're young or you're in your 20s, 20s is still young. Late 20s is still young. Man, take your time. Build your future. Don't get ashamed. Man, you may not be able to date really, but hey, at least you get your bread right. Your bread is not even right to be dating in the first place. So dating shouldn't even be an issue, because why are you trying to date when your money's not right? Save your money. That's why you're living at home. Save the money. But anyway, thank you, YouTube, for hanging with me. If you guys do have any words, thoughts, or anything, please leave them down in the comment below. I appreciate it. Please subscribe. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out the next section of this video, click here. If you want to watch the full thing, also click here. I appreciate you guys. Take care, and we'll catch y'all in the next one.